What is it about the power of sound that captures our hearts, minds, and spaces? Find out now. Black History Year is coming up next.
The holidays are all about sharing with family. Meals, couches, stories, Grandma's secret pecan pie recipe. And now, you can also share a cart with Instacart's Family Carts. Everyone can add what they want to one group cart from wherever they are. So you don't have to go from room to room to find out who wants cranberry sauce, or who should get mini marshmallows for the yams, or collecting votes for sugar cookies versus shortbread. Just share a cart and then share the meals and the moments. Download the Instacart app and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Plus, enjoy free delivery on your first 3 orders. Service fees and terms apply.
Whether you know it or not, you've been under mind control. Think not? Picture this. The lights dim, the bass drops, and suddenly your body moves before your mind can catch up. It feels like magic, but it's actually a mere mortal using a turntable to shift your reality. Now here's the twist. This person? Oh, they're not controlling you at all. They're freeing you. I'm Len from Push Black, and you're listening to Black History Year. DJs have always played an integral role in Black culture. And though they've curated the soundtracks of our lives, their craft has always been about more than just music. From the underground clubs of Chicago and Detroit to the block parties of the Bronx, these sonic architects have built spaces that challenge oppression and foster community. So how do they do it? How do these masters of sound harness this technical, emotional, and intuitive element to create environments for Black expression? Today, we're diving into the art of space making through the DJ. How they use music to guide, unite, and liberate us one beat at a time. And on the ones and twos, we have DJ Skeme Richards, aka the Nostalgia King. Skeme has traveled the world liberating hearts, minds, bodies, and souls. His Nostalgia King blog chronicles the history of hip-hop, jazz, and funk through the turntable wizardry of the disc jockey. And he sat down with our host Darren to show how the space is made. But first, here's a story about another historic DJ. She may have been the first Black female DJ in the United States, but that's not what makes Mary D. Dudley's story so powerful. Her love of music and community prompted her to do what no other Black woman has been able to accomplish before. Dudley loved 2 things unequivocally: music and her Blackness. In 1948, she had 15 minutes to showcase both her first-of-its-kind radio show, Moving Around, on WHOD in Pittsburgh. She did the thing because just 6 months later, the show went from 15 minutes to an hour. And she didn't stop there. With an hour of airtime to do what she wanted, Dudley continued to play the music she loved while discussing Blackness in all its forms. From interviewing legends like Cab Calloway and Jackie Robinson to discussing issues facing the Black community, Dudley pioneered the music news format. Mary D. Dudley's show was so fire that by 1950, she had 2 hours to discuss her love of all things Black. She brought on her brother, the journalist Mal Good, and the writers Hazel Garland and Gertrude Schalk to discuss issues in Pittsburgh's Black community. From women's issues to Jim Crow segregation, housing, and politics, her show empowered listeners to fight for our community and the rights that all Black folks deserved. We all have something to offer our community, something we love and can use for liberation. Dudley used her love of music and radio to empower our community. Tell me, what do you love that you will share?
Yo, Skeme Richards, how you doing today, fam?
What's the good word, bro? How you doing?
I'm good, good. Happy to be in conversation with you today.
No doubt, man. Good to see another brother man in a place to be, and great conversation going on. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, thank you. Before we dive into the history of DJing, thinking about the DJ as an energy shifter, placemaker, space maker, a digital griot, preserving and innovating our culture, got a bit of a game for you. It's a true or false game, and I'm going to be reading off some statements, fam. Some are going to be blatantly true, some blatantly false, some opinionated, and you just let us know however they land with true or false. How does that sound?
Done and done.
All right. First up, true or false? DJing should be an event at the Olympics.
Well, there's always DJs at the Olympics. B-boys, B-girls. There's always DJs there. Skateboarding. There's always the DJs playing for skateboarding. So they are there. Should it be a part of the Olympics in terms of competition-wise? No.
Ooh. Okay. All right. True or false, Skeme? Grand Wizard Theodore is the inventor of record scratching.
True. That's 100% true. It was his mistake that led to something new happening, which Grandmaster Flash perfected and made global.
Thank you for that. True or false, Skeme? A choir director can be considered a DJ.
He is the orchestrator. He is the lead. He's not the disc jockey because he's not playing records. He is the orchestrator. He is the lead. The DJ is also the lead. But the orchestrator is not the DJ. He is the MC.
Ooh, we gonna get into that. MC-DJ relationship. Thank you for that clarity, fam. True or false, Skeme? DJ Red Alert was the official DJ for the March on Washington.
Ooh. You know what? Knowing Red and knowing Red's status, I'm going to say that's true. And even if it isn't true, Red deserves to be that official DJ.
Ooh, I love that. So, at the time, the March on Washington, specifically the one in 63.
Oh, we're talking about 63 now. Oh, see, you weren't specific on dates. Oh, see?
You think about the 90s, huh?
I'm thinking about 90s. Yeah, see? Got to be specific on those dates.
All right.
But, yeah, I mean, 63, if it was 63, that time, we didn't need a DJ. We needed power to the people. We needed the voice. We didn't need the music. We needed the voices to be heard.
Thank you for that, man. True or false, Skeme? James Brown's discography has been sampled over 8,000 times.
Oh, if you told me 1 million, I'd be like, yup. First of all, James is the original B-boy. James is the foundation of hip-hop. If there was no James, there would be no hip-hop in the sense that we know it. He's the most sampled. He is the reason why we get up, get into it, get involved, and get down.
Yes, indeed.
So if it was 1 million, I'd say yeah. If it was 2 million, I'd say yeah.
Shouts to the Godfather. All right. True or false, Skeme? The act of a radio DJ talking over a song's instrumental intro and stopping just before the lyrics begin is called talk up, walk up.
That's a no-go. That's a no-go. Talk up, walk up. I like that though.
Is there a name for that practice?
No, that's just you being a radio host, a radio disc jockey. That's just you ushering in the next song. So there isn't really a title for it or name for it. It's just you being the guy, you being the radio host.
Word. All right. True or false, Skeme? A DJ's custom-made mix of songs, often used for promotional purposes, is called a DJ mixtape.
100% correct. It is a mixtape. Whether it's on cassette, CD, or digital, it's classified as a mixtape. I'm a little stickler on it, so for me, it's got to be cassette or CD.
Wow. Okay.
When it's digital, it's just an online mix. It's a digital mix. It's not a mixtape because it's not a physical format, whether cassette or CD. So I'm a stick on that. A lot of people will call it a mixtape, even if it's digital. But for me, that's not a mixtape. That's just an online mix.
Okay. Ooh, we got to dig into that in one of our segments. And we absolutely want to know about some of your earliest mixtapes and how you approach composing those. Thank you for lifting it up, fam. 2 more for you. True or false, Skeme? The hit song Last Night a DJ Saved My Life by MD is based on a true story.
Honestly, the DJ is the reason why a lot of people's lives were saved, because the DJ played on the dance floor, and when you got to the dance floor, you left all of your problems at home. So no matter what you was going through, breakup, if you was going through, you just lost your job, you was homeless, if you was on the dance floor, the DJ's purpose is for you to make you forget all of your problems in the real world.
Ooh,
Instead of turning to drugs, we come to the music, we dance. This is spiritual.
Ooh.
So yes, that's a true story.
Yeah, we're going to run with that. Yes, absolutely true. Great segue into our last true or false, fam. True or false, Skeme? A great DJ can make the dance floor feel like liberation.
Yeah, once again, it's spiritual, it's uplifting. As a DJ, I take you to church every session. I'm taking you to church. So yes, a good DJ does that. There's a lot of people that have the DJ title. A good DJ, a cultural DJ who knows the lineage and the history of the music and of the people. Those are the people that bring that spirituality, the liberation to the dance floor. Not everyone can do that. You got to be cut from a certain cloth.
Okay. Man, thank you so much for dropping them jewels. Just right into our first question we like to open up all our conversations with. We like to ask our guests from their perspective, from their experience, what does Black liberation mean to you?
Black liberation, to me, it has many terms and it's going to be something different to everybody. To me, it means being you, being strong at being you, right? Not depending on anyone else other than yourself, because everything starts with yourself, right? I'm free to move about as I choose to move about. As an artist, culturally, like Black liberation to me means carrying on that lineage and passing it down so that people after me will understand what this is about and what this music is about, and what this culture is about. So as it's carrying on to the next person, next generation, it's freeing it.
Oh, wow. Sam, you just gave the whole takeaway for the interview. That is so beautiful, Skeme.
Can I drop a jewel on you real quick?
Please, we ready.
So this is a crazy story. This was 2014. I'm in St. Petersburg, Russia,
Wow.
doing a funk soul night. And I mean, it's hands down one of the craziest nights I've ever done, right? I'm playing all funk soul, all like 60s, 70s raw, deep funk, sweet soul. And it was a group of students. They were probably like high school or like first year college students at this party, okay? And it was 2 young Black boys and then, maybe a Asian girl and a couple white kids, and they were all at this party together. Crazy club.
Yeah.
And I remember I'm playing James Brown. I can't remember which song I was playing, but I'm playing James Brown. And the 2 young Black boys ran up to the DJ booth and they were like, yo, what are you doing here? What is this music?
Wow.
Right? And I was like, hold that thought. I got 20 more minutes on my set. I'm going to come talk to y'all.
Okay.
So I finished my set. I go up and talk to him. I'm like, yo, where are you guys from? And the one kid said he was from Ohio.
Wow.
The other kid, he said he was from Virginia. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. The 2 biggest states that funk and soul music came out of, right? And I was like, how do y'all not know what this is? This is funk soul. I'm like, this is your music. And they were like, yo, we've never heard this music before. And it clicked in my head that I was like, you know what? We as people, we aren't doing our job and passed on lineage and culture and history because y'all come from Ohio and Virginia. Like, that's the 2 biggest states that the funk soul music was coming out of. So I'm like, what was your parents listening to? What was your grandparents listening to? What was your older brother? Like, is the generations just that segregated now to the point where it's lost?
Mm.
Because in my household, it was like my grandparents listened to gospel and jazz. My parents listened to disco. They listened to R&B. They listened to soul. Hip hop was my generation, right? But I heard all of their music, just like, not that they wanted to, but they heard all my music.
Yes.
Right? So now I'm like, where did it stop that you guys don't know James Brown?
Damn. What year was this, King?
2020, like 2013, 2014, 2013.
Shit.
Right? So that kind of put me on the crusade
Mm.
of being the guy that, like, I got to carry this Black culture globally and present it authentically.
Oh, fam. Thank you so much for that antidote and laying the foundations for us. And, it really sheds some light on one of your monikers, Nostalgia King. Is that? Yes, indeed. With that said, and keeping in mind, just the responsibilities of a DJ, to the people, to the culture. Um, However you can articulate it for a Scheme. From your perspective, what makes a DJ a DJ?
Um, you have to be educated on the music. You have to be educated on the culture of the music, the culture of the people. Anyone can play records.
Yeah.
It's about having a connection to those records and the music and the people who made those records. Like, if I'm playing Curtis Mayfield from 1970s, I got a connection because I'm understanding civil rights era. I'm understanding when he made Superfly. I'm understanding drug culture. I'm understanding all of what was going on in urban areas, right? So I'm playing that music authentically. Other people hear it, but I'm hearing it. I'm living it, right? I'm seeing it in the hoods,
Yeah.
right? So anybody can play records, but to play those records authentically, you have to know the people. You got to know where this music comes from. When you can't just be anybody and play James Brown, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud.
Mm.
And you playing it because it's got a funky beat. No, I'm playing it because I know Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, because I'm carrying this culture.
Yes, indeed. But what you just shared with us, it makes me think of a line from a White Man Can't Jump. Wesley Snipes' character, Sidney Dean, was talking to, white boy Woody Harrelson about listening to Jimi Hendrix. He's like, hey, man, like you just listen to it, but I don't think you're really hearing Jimmy. And I think what you just mentioned kind of speaks to that. Is that connected in some way?
That is true. And the crazy thing is, there are DJs who are not Black that I know play the music authentically. The Japanese preserve Black culture, I'm going to say, more than we do at times when it comes to musically, culturally. When they write books on the culture, they do it in an authentic way. Because the thing about the Japanese are, they do things at such a high level that when they do it, it has to be correct. Because they never want to be the weak link in the chain of somebody doing it not so correct.
Yeah.
Right? So when I go to certain countries, I'm like, you guys are preserving the culture, and I can talk to you about this culture because you've studied this culture. So there are DJs, but then there's a lot of DJs that, look, it's cool to be a DJ now.
Yeah.
And it's easy to be a DJ, and you're just playing records because these are the hit records and these are the records that work on a dance floor. But you don't have your own identity with playing these records and the attachment to these records and the people that made these records.
Yes, indeed, fam. Thank you so much for lifting up. Just specifically right now, I'm thinking about the Japanese. It's kind of reverence for there's many different kind of musical strains coming out of our culture. But I am curious, man. What made you want to become a DJ? Was there any DJ who kind of inspired this love of community of the culture for you?
So I started DJing in 1981.
Okay.
Right? I was 10, and I'm hanging out with other kids whose older brothers were DJs.
Okay.
Right? So we would go to their house and practice after school, knowing we shouldn't have been practicing on their equipment. So I'm hanging out with 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds whose older brothers got turntables. So it was something that was just as natural as riding a BMX bike, skateboarding. It was just something that was just natural. Girls doing double dutch. Like, that's what we did. So you see older kids, block parties, DJing, and you're like, okay, I want to do that, but you're still a kid, right? But that inspiration of being like, oh man, those are the guys right there. I want to be the older guy, So it wasn't one person in particular. It was just my surroundings of a couple of 10-year-olds and their older brothers, It was just normal, and it wasn't the norm in the sense where everybody's doing it. Now everybody's doing it now. Back then it was like, okay, there's 2 or 3 of you doing it.
Yeah.
And I got to save my lunch money to go buy records.
Wow.
Right? Because parents wasn't buying you. It's not like now where people are buying you a PlayStation. No, we had to earn our money. We had to do chores to get, that allowance.
Yeah.
I had to save lunch money to go buy records at the end of the week and jump on the train and go to Center City and, go buy records.
Okay.
So yeah, it was my surroundings. It was the other 10-year-olds and, and that's what I've always done. I've never stopped doing it. Right. And I never wanted to be a professional DJ because this is what I do. It's like I wake up and I breathe. This is music, Black culture. Black music is in my house. It's nothing special to me because this is what we do.
When you feel a cold coming, shorten it with Zicam, the #1 cold shortening brand.
Oh no, not before the holidays.
Your cold is coming! Your cold is coming!
Thanks, Revere. I really should keep Zicam in the house.
Getting a cold is on no one's wish list.
Take it from America's most revered messenger. Shorten your cold at the first sign with cold shortening products from Zicam, the #1 cold shortening brand. Available in stores or see where to buy at Zicam.com.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet, and the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned, and way more sales going. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whenever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout experience as business powerhouses like Aloe, Allbirds, and Skims. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast.
What's up, fam? Y'all feeling the episode so far? Look, at Push Black, we agree with Marcus Garvey when he said, a people without knowledge, their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. I'm guessing you probably feel like that's important too. I mean, you're listening to a podcast on Black history. So, if you're finding value in our episodes and are able to chip in, please consider donating at blackhistoryyear.com. Most people do $5 or $10 a month, but every contribution helps. Thanks for your support. All right, y'all. Let's get back to the episode.
You mentioned the difference between what you consider like a mixtape and what exists just on the internet. What I want to get into is just how is it DJs are able to kind of preserve cultural stories through their sets, through their mixtapes. Is there like a storytelling element to it?
There is a storytelling aspect to it. Like when I do mixes, I'm going funk, soul, jazz, rare groove, disco. I'm crossing. It's all making sense, right? It's all making sense whether you hear the lyrics or not. It's all making sense because it's a feeling that's going on, right? It's an uplifting feeling that's going on. It's a feeling that makes you want to dance. It makes you want to scream, makes you want to shout, right?
Yeah.
It makes you want to love. you know, and sometimes you play a song where it's like, yo, I want to hate these people because the oppression, right? You play some 60s and 70s and you hear the message and you're like, man, I don't like these people,
Mm.
right? So it's about telling the story and it's a feeling. It's crazy because Kanye said something one day and I was like, that's so, like, I understand 100% what he was saying. He said, I see music,
Oh,
right?
synesthesia. Okay.
And I was like, yeah, I get it. And people were like, what is he talking about? He sees music. I'm like, yeah, I see music too. Because before I even get to the club, the vision of how this night is going to go is already, I already see the dance floor before I even get there.
Mm.
Because I know my record bags are packed and I know how this group of people are going to react to this music on the dance floor. So I'm seeing the music and the people and the reaction before I even drop the needle on the first record.
Wow.
And partially, that's partial because of the era I come from, where when these records in the 60s and 70s were brand new, I'm hearing them on the radio. I'm seeing in the late 70s, early 80s, when clubs used to broadcast live on the radio. So Friday night, Saturday night, the clubs would be live and it would be broadcast on the radio. So what was going on the radio was what was happening at the club. I'm too young to go to the club, but I have cassette tapes of what was going on in the club. And as an 11-year-old, 12-year-old, in my mind, I'm envisioning what is going on. Like, I can see what's going on at the club just by hearing what's going on the radio,
Mm. Wow.
right? So I can see music.
That's powerful, fam. That's powerful. Before, I want to kind of discuss the relationship between the DJ and MC, but I want to stay on this bit, specifically around like DJs as kind of griots and gatekeepers. With that said, we felt it was really important to lift up two names here, specifically Frankie Knuckles and DJ Kool Herc. For folks who may be unaware of who these monumental figures are, Skeme, what can you tell us about the impact that Frankie Knuckles and DJ Kool Herc had on DJing history, DJ culture, modern, past, present, future?
Frankie Knuckles, house. There would be no house in the sense that we know it
Mm.
without Frankie Knuckles. Like, just wouldn't. The institutions, the music he played, the venues he played, the way he played those records,
Mm.
right? Unlike anybody else. A DJ is supposed to be so unique.
Ooh.
There's a lot of cookie cutter DJs. There's
Ooh.
only one Frankie Knuckles.
Wait, quick follow-up, Sam. How did he play house music differently than other folks? Like, what was he doing to these records?
I think it's because he was the first. It was his style. It was his flavor. He did it. Like, we could play, a group of people could play 10 of the same records, but the way I'm going to play that record, those 10 records, is totally different the way you're going to play that 10 records. And so he played those records in his sense, the way that he plays it. It's kind of hard to explain. You got to be there and you got to like feel it, right? You got to feel it, because that's what music is, a feeling. Music is feeling. So he did it in his way. The same way Kool Herc did it, right?
Okay,
The
yeah.
same way Herc did it. But the thing about Herc, there were DJs that was doing that at the same time as Herc. Herc was the one that got known for it,
Mm.
but that music was being played already. And Philly, we didn't know who Kool Herc was.
Okay.
Our Kool Herc was a guy named Captain Boogie. And Captain Boogie was the guy who was bringing the sound systems out to the park.
Ah.
Right? There's a lot of history, as Black people, we were playing this music.
Mm-hmm.
He did it in his way, where he doubled up these records, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was already disco DJs doing that as well, extending the breaks, right? So they were extending 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. The hip hop side was, we're going to play 1, 2. We're going to scratch a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Disco was you got to keep it. You got to keep boom, 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 boom. Don't mess it up. Don't go off beat. Right?
Okay.
With hip hop, ours was a little archaic, a little offbeat. The scratches because we hadn't perfected the scratches yet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a little offbeat, right? You can't do that on a disco floor. So 2 legendary figures, but when it comes to especially hip hop, yes, Herc was the man. But guess what? If it wasn't for Afrika Bambaataa, the master of records, we wouldn't know a lot of these records that became these records.
Ooh-wee.
And if it wasn't for Grandmaster Flash, we wouldn't rock these records the way we rock these records, because Grandmaster Flash made everyone want to be a DJ, because he was the guy that perfected scratching and rocking doubles and what he called the quick mix, which was back and forth. He perfected that. So Theodore, by mistake, did the scratch. Flash was the one who took that and was like, oh, let me manipulate this record.
Wow.
Oh, let me go back to this record. Cool Herc is already rocking doubles, but let me do it faster than Herc and do scratches. So he made everyone. If you're a DJ of the 80s or 90s and you don't say Flash made you want to DJ, you're lying. Because even if he didn't, he made your OG want to DJ, and your OG taught you to DJ.
That's a word. Okay. Thinking about Captain Boogie, thinking about Philly, and I'm also thinking about the relationship between a DJ and an MC and what that collab actually does for folks. Right now, I'm also thinking about Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. What can you tell us about the MC and DJ collab? What does that do to a space that is kind of different if you only had an MC or if you only had a DJ?
So let's take it back to the 70s.
Oh, okay.
Let's take it back to the 70s first. The DJ was the DJ. The MC was not, he was just the guy that was telling people how good the DJ was.
Like a hype man.
He was a hype man.
Wow.
That's what he was. He was the guy that was on the mic hyping up the DJ, keeping the crowd entertained.
Mm-hmm.
He's not rocking rhymes. He's not doing verses. He's the guy that's like, yo, Len, your car's about to get towed outside. Right? Or, yo, who got a green Volkswagen Beetle outside? Yo, it's about to get towed.
Word.
Right? So that was the relationship between the DJ and the MC prior to rap records.
Yeah. Would you feel like, I'm thinking of a very specific, I don't even know if I would call him a DJ, but I'm thinking of a very specific DJ in mind right now. And it seems like this relationship is flipped, where the DJ seems to be like a hype man for the MCs. So I'm thinking about DJ Khaled. Does all like these big compilation albums and all this type of stuff. Do you feel like the relationship is like forever changed between the DJ and the MC?
And commercial rap it is. In hip hop, it's not. In commercial rap, yes. The DJ Khaled is yes, definitely. Because the focal point became the MC. We don't need the DJ anymore, because we could just play on a DAT, press the CD, and I could just do my songs.
Yeah.
With Khaled, it's just like, okay, you're the guy, and now you're going to get a bunch of people on your song, but y'all going to make me look good because I put this whole orchestra together. Right? So in the commercial sense, yes. In the cultural sense, no.
Where'd you get those shoes? Easy. They're from DSW. Because DSW has the exact right shoes for whatever you're into right now. You know, like the sneakers that make office hours feel like happy hour. The boots that turn grocery aisles into runways. And all the styles that show off the many sides of you, from daydreamer to multitasker and everything in between. because you do it all in really great shoes. Find a shoe for every you at your DSW store or dsw.com.
When it comes to hiring, don't search for great talent, match with them. Thanks to Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find qualified candidates fast. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey, leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day. Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Just go to Indeed.com/listen right now. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility. Go to Indeed.com/listen and tell them you heard about them from this podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Now I want to think a little bit regionally. I love that you lifted up Virginia and Ohio as being like the hotbeds, which pretty much birth what we know as funk. I didn't know this. I had no idea. I'm out of Louisiana, and I'm a little bit biased. I
And
think.
there's a lot of funk that came out of Louisiana.
Yeah, thank you for that.
New Orleans, you got Eddie Bo, who was like the king of New Orleans, who had like hook and slang that was sampled a bunch of times. Like you had a lot of stuff coming out of Louisiana too. A lot of funk soul stuff.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for lifting that up, man. I'm often a little bit too biased. I often believe all musical roads lead back to Louisiana, Southern Louisiana. But even with that said, I'm very curious. First, I just want to start a little broad. What is it about regional soundscapes that are able to be created just from the material culture, the sociality of a particular space? I've always wondered, just like how do regional music like reflect the actual sound or reality of a space in which it comes out of? Got a few examples I want to think through, but just with that big, large ass general question thrown out there, how do you think it is that like, I don't know, locations influence the type of music that comes out of it?
Well, you just answered it because you said, your surroundings, your like locale, like what was happening in the city during that time, like regional sounds, the instruments that was being played at that time. Like Philly, New York was heavy disco. That wasn't Louisiana. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like certain things. The West Coast was funk.
Yeah.
It was just their surroundings and their sounds. Like the reason why the music is a certain way on the East Coast, Philly, New York, is because it's cold here and there's wintertime here and there's snow here, right? So we got conditions. We got 4 seasons. So we angry in the wintertime because it's cold, right? But if you go someplace where it's warm all the time, y'all not going to sing or rap or make music with that anger because it's sunny.
Yeah.
Right? Y'all go to the beach every day. Y'all go enjoy. Like, why would y'all make this type of music? Right? But at a certain era, the 60s, 70s, where Black people were really going through it, it didn't matter what city or state you came from. Black people as a whole in America were getting the short end of the stick. So we all writing about social and political issues that's going on. Right? The music might be a little funkier, different from Louisiana than in LA or New York, but the message in the music is still that social and political upliftment of Black people.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just all about surroundings and like, on the East Coast, we're going to talk about eating this. On the West Coast, they're going to talk about eating that. Down South, they're going to talk about eating it. So it's just, it's in reference to your location, culturally what's happening in your area. If it wasn't for New York, there would be no hip hop. Because that came out of time in New York where the buildings were burning, the Bronx was burning, right? The funds were cut for after school programs. So these kids had to do something and they created hip hop. The best art comes out of the struggle. And that's why hip hop is here. That's why punk music was created. Like all of these genres came out of the struggle. all of the best artists, Basquiat, Warhol, all of this stuff came from a time in New York City where it was like these situations, you know? So
Yeah.
that's why you get the different surroundings of why Louisiana is different than this place, because it's just your surroundings and what's happening. But it doesn't happen as much now. And here's why. Back then, we didn't know what was going on in Louisiana. Unless you got family and you going to go visit, you don't know what's going on in Louisiana. Now we got social media, so we see everything at the same exact time. If somebody likes something in another state, they just gonna bite it and they gonna do that style.
Mm-hmm.
New York and Philly was the same, but it was different than Luke and Two Live Crew in Miami, right?
Yeah.
Which was different than Louisiana, which was different than Texas, which was different than LA. Now it doesn't happen anymore. It's all the same. People have lack of originality.
Mm-hmm.
Like you didn't know what a rapper looked like or a singer until you saw a video on MTV or you saw them on Soul Train. Then you knew what they dressed like.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for laying out that rich history, and all those rich relationships. Just got one little quick follow-up. When we were thinking about, regional soundscapes and the type of music that came from them, we came up with a little quick short list. We thought about the DMV region and go-go. We thought about NOLA and bounce music. You mentioned West Coast and funk. But one that was really peculiar for me, still kind of is techno coming out of Detroit. That's something that just always blows my mind because growing up, I always heard that, techno's white folks' music, right? It's not like black people don't vibe with that. Come to find out, black people invented techno. Fam, what can you share with us about the relationship between Detroit and techno? Anything, any jewels to share with us on
See, you know what? Like that term, when things become terms
that?
and becomes the popular term. So when you go to Europe and you go to Berlin or you go to Germany or whatever, and you're listening to techno, how many black people are really over there?
Yeah.
Right? And there's a lot of blacks in Germany, but primarily whites are going to hear this music.
Mhm.
And the DJs are white DJs. Right? Detroit is so small. So so it's their term that just got overran because a bigger country, techno. So we associate it with white people
Mhm.
because that's who we see going to hear and dance to techno. Techno's black. Techno's Detroit. Right? That's their music. But it's not like it's not like house. We're not saying house because we know Chicago house. We know house. Right? And house was black and it put the stamp on it.
Mhm.
Techno was being done in Detroit, went globally because the sound was duplicated and became known as like, oh, this is white music. Right? Oh, y'all listening to techno, not knowing, techno is, it's like saying rock music is white. No, rock music is black. But who are the rock stars? They're white.
Yeah.
Our rock stars weren't rock stars in the sense of, the rock stars that were known for like trashing hotels and stuff like, you know what I'm saying? Like our rock stars, we didn't call them rock stars.
Mhm.
Rock stars is kind of like a white term.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's all about when terms get put on things. And that's what happened with techno. It's like we saw the majority of the people as white people or Europeans listening to techno.
Yeah.
And the main DJs are white DJs. So it just automatically gets associated with white culture when it's not. But how do you tell the story though? Like, it's not like Kool Herc where everybody knows Kool Herc.
Yeah.
Detroit legends they aren't as famous outside of the techno scene as a Kool Herc is. So it sucks because it just got overran. But I feel like now they're taking it back and being like, no, this is black music.
Absolutely, absolutely. And on that note, I just want to lift up this one, a short documentary. Folks can find this out there online. It's titled "Black to Techno," directed by a black filmmaker named Jen Nkiru. And essentially, she went to Detroit and she found these fascinating resonancies between like the the history of factories and manufacturing in Detroit, how that may have influenced certain techniques that produce techno, and even like kind of looped in Dilla and some of his approaches too. So y'all, please, if you want to know more about like Black history around techno, just check out Black to Techno.
Yeah.
Whew. Thank you.
And it's crazy. I went to Detroit. This was a couple years ago. It was wintertime. It was cold. And I went to this garage. It was just like a garage in an abandoned area. And they made it. It was a bar set up. They had like a pile of wood burning just to keep the place warm.
Wow.
And they had a DJ set up, and they had a bunch of techno producers making techno in the party on 808s, 909s, just making it. People's just grooving. I'm like, only in Detroit can this happen.
Making it live?
It was live. They were doing live techno, like how it was done on records. And like, that's what they do. That's what they do. Detroit is like the most official of official when it comes to keeping a certain culture alive. And they keep that techno culture alive.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Okay. That actually spoke to our next, got to the heart of it. Before we get into that though, thinking about how is it DJs and our music transform space, just like that warehouse. Got another game for you, Skeme. It's a word association game. I'm just going to rattle off some concepts, some names related to DJing, and you just let us know whatever words are associated that come up to you.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
All right. First up, sampling.
Marley Marl.
Ooh. Wait, I got to ask, why Marley Marl?
Because Marley perfected and was one of the very, very, very absolute first people to sample records. And Marley perfected it. And Marley made it so that everybody else wanted to sample.
Okay. Next up, Nautilus by Bob James.
This is a multi-word answer.
Please.
Funkiest white jazz musician around. I mean, there would be no Wu-Tang songs without Nautilus. There would be no, like, so many people sample Nautilus.
Yeah.
So Bob James, funkiest white jazz dude around, and who's still performing to this day.
Shout out Bob. All right. Breakbeat.
James Brown.
Whoa.
Why? Because James Brown had the funkiest breakbeats. Because he had Clyde Stubblefield. He had the funky drummer himself. You know, like, James just had breaks after breaks after breaks after breaks. So James Brown.
All right. This is a brother that you referenced earlier. African Bambaataa.
Master of records. And the person who coined this culture as hip hop. Because if it wasn't for Bam, this could have just been called Scooby-Doo.
Thankful for that. Yes,
because Bam gave it ideology and said this culture is a culture of four elements: DJing, MCing, b-boying, and graffiti.
Ooh.
Because before that, it was just ghetto culture. It was just ghetto culture before. He gave it ideology behind it of peace, unity, love, and having fun.
Yeah, and the Zulu Nation, right?
And Zulu Nation, yes. So.
All right. Ooh, this next one's a bit of a stickler. House music versus go-go music.
House music is more universally accepted.
Yeah.
Go-go is cultural to that DMV area. That's cultural, right? It's not a culture across the world, right? House music is a culture across the world because that's the popular of the music, right?
Yeah,
you can't just duplicate go-go.
Yeah,
that's a lifestyle.
Ooh,
right? That's like saying you can't duplicate gospel. If you ain't never been to a black church, you can't duplicate gospel music and make it.
That's a whole word. Man, okay. I want to continue on the game, but I just want to lift up that love how we're carving out space to kind of lift up like the lived experience of the music and how much that actually impacts it. You can't just study this from afar. There are other resonancies and energies you need to be a part of to be able to actually do honor to these traditions. Thank you for that, fam. All right, next one, slow drag.
Red light bulb in the basement, because that was at the party, at the dollar parties, at the basement parties. Slow dragging was what you waited for, because that was the end of the night. And that's when it was like, yo, finally I get to dance with this girl I've been eyeing all night. I get to get her phone number.
Yeah.
We don't do that anymore. We need to bring that back, which any party I do, my last half hour is slow joints.
Damn.
Because I'm still living Nostalgia King life of when I was 12, 13-year-old going to this house party.
Yeah.
I want people to be like grooving.
Yeah.
Like, I've legitimately had people meet at my parties because of that, get married because of that, have kids because of that.
Wow. Talk about building community. What?
And that's what I'm saying. So, but that's a cultural thing, because everybody can't just play slow music at the end of the night because they don't know how to wind it down, because you weren't going to house parties in 1983 or 85. You weren't going to house parties.
Okay.
It's a cultural thing. It's what Black people did.
Yes, indeed. Next one may raise some feelings here. Serato.
Gift and the curse. Why? Because it made everybody a DJ, right? It made everybody think they were a DJ, right? Anybody can play music anywhere. You no longer have to spend your money to buy these records, because people who spend money on records really believe in what they're doing. People who just download the worst MP3 files, it's just, because I just want to play this gig tonight, so I need to download this.
Yeah.
Right? So, gift and the curse. I love Serato. It's made my job easier. I also haven't had to use Serato probably in the last 10 years because I'm still a vinyl dude.
Oh, wow.
I never stopped playing vinyl, and I've had Serato since 2006. And I would take Serato. The only time you really hear me play Serato is if I have to do house, because house is a lot of 12 inches. That's a lot of records. And if I have to do a hip hop night, because it's not really much hip hop now. But if I'm playing funk, soul, jazz, rare groove, disco, I'm all vinyl.
You're transporting the creeds.
That's what I do.
Okay.
But that's what separates DJs. What separates DJs are their crates. It's been that since the beginning of time. I got this rare record, you don't. That's what separates me from you. With Serato, we can all have the same exact things. There's no separation.
Wow.
But you still got to know the record to download the record.
Yeah. I recall once Kool Herc, DJ Kool Herc, was being interviewed about the set list at the infamous party that was supposedly like the Big Bang for hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
He refused to give over that set list. He was like, no, you actually, I won't just share like what it was I was spending. I got a question about that related to gatekeeping, but you feel that's actually like necessary though, to like gatekeep in some ways.
It's necessary, especially now with the ease of everybody just being able to DJ. Like, no two DJs had the same records. So, like, during the funk and soul scene of the 90s, early 2000s, there was a guy named Kev Darge. And Kev Darge from the UK was the guy who coined the term deep funk. And it was basically, he was playing rare 45s of regional funk soul music from North Carolina, Detroit, Virginia. So he coined the term deep funk. There were certain records that people would say, that's a Kev Darge record, because Kev was the one who broke that record in the club. Kev might have been the only person with that record because it was rare. So if you wanted to go hear that record, you had to go to a Kev Darge night.
Man,
that's what's lacking now in DJ culture, especially commercially and with new music. Because new music, every DJ gets the same song at the same time. They're all a part of the same record pool. They all download the same music. They just play it in different order.
Yeah.
When you're a vinyl guy, I got to go find this record. I got to break this record. And I'm fortunate enough that labels around the globe, funk, soul, jazz, disco labels, still send me promos every day. So I'm breaking new records that's reminiscent of old records. And I'll get a record 2-3 months before anybody gets it. So I'm going to be the first to write about it on a Nostalgia King site. And I'm going to be the first to play it in the club. Because I'm following the lineage of what the DJs before me used to do.
All right, man. I want to reference what you lifted up, this beautiful scene setting around slow drag. You mentioned a red light bulb in the basement. And it really makes me lament. Well, first, I should just say this. I'm not outside like I was ago. Like, I'm not even that old. I'm only 37, but I don't really go places like that. But it does make me lament certain dance spaces. You know, when we think about the dance floor as a spiritual sanctuary, I'm often wondering, like, where is that? Even in like majority Black cities. With that said, fam, from your perspective, do you feel like we're losing iconic Black dance venues and clubs, kind of like what the Cotton Club was in Harlem in one day, or Latin Quarters in New York, the Warehouse in Chicago? Are we losing these spaces?
It's done. It's over.
Oof.
Here's the reason why. The people that own clubs back then were part of the scene. They were part of the dance DJ music community, right? So they opened these clubs because they were a part of this. Fast forward to the present, people who open venues aren't a part of the scene. They're trust fund kids. They got a loan. They got investors. They want to make money. It's not about culture, right? So that's kind of gone. The institutions. Now, it still exists in some senses. You've got Dante's Hi-Fi in Miami, which Rich Medina is part owner in that.
Okay.
That is what APT in New York, what that was, we're bringing these amazing DJs and they're going to play. There's no requests. You're going to enjoy what's going on here. And the DJ might be playing gospel. He might jump into jazz. He might jump into disco. But it's all curated with like amazing DJs. Because Rich is a DJ. He's a cultural ambassador, right? You've got places like Mojo Club in Germany, which Mojo Club has been open, I don't know, Mojo Club's been open for a year, 20 plus, right? And Mojo Club is a place where you want to go play funk, soul, jazz, disco. Like, it's a cultural place. You've got places like The Room in Tokyo, in Shibuya. That place has been open, I think, 30 years now. Whoa. And it's funk, soul, jazz, disco, hip hop. Like, it's the cultural spot. So it still exists because those people that own those venues are a part of the culture. They are a part of the scene, and not trust fund kids and not investors and not, they're like, no, this is what we do.
Okay, I'm also like inspired by what you referenced in Detroit. The Warehouse got the fire burning, got folks making live techno. Do you feel like, well, first off, this is a big question. Do you feel like that's a form of like placemaking, like creating space, like through
that is creating space? Because when you think about it, the best spaces were makeshift.
Yeah.
Places. Like in Philly, there weren't really clubs playing hip hop. You rented out halls. You rented halls and you brought speakers in and you hired a promoter, and there weren't clubs. So that's kind of what they do in Detroit. It's like you go find some abandoned garage, word of mouth, and we throw in this party tonight.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Okay. Want to flip it a little bit. Okay. So we totally understand now how it is music can transform a space, create a space. But I am curious, in your travels, fam, has there ever been an instance where the venue and the space shifted how people perceive the music?
Yes. The venue, I go in, the first thing I do is look at the venue. Is it a sexy spot? Because now I'm going to play a little different, right? Is it a grimy spot? Because now I'm going to play a little different, right? If it's a sexy spot, I'm like, okay, I know what I can do. I know what I'm going to bring to this space. because obviously if it's a sexy spot, I know the type of clientele, and I'm never going to give you commercial. You're never getting commercial from me.
All right. No top 40 hits, none of that.
No top 40.
Okay.
But you will get something that's reminiscent or feels like it, right? That you might know the song. I'm going to give you that, right? And if it's a grimy spot, if it's Detroit, I'm going to play that raw funk soul, right? So yeah, so it changes depending on the venue. Like it can shift, you know?
Copy that. All right. So now I'm thinking about, the relationship between the dance floor and certain behaviors, certain kind of sociality that comes out on the dance floor due to certain musical genres. Or at least that's what I'm kind of assuming. Curious, Skeme, do certain shifts in music genres kind of change? Well, let me take a step back. Hey, do you notice a shift in behavior on the dance floor depending on what you play?
100%. 100%. Because some genres just breed negativity and ignorance. A lot of rap music today breeds that.
Word. Let's speak on it.
Right?
Yeah.
A lot of rap music today breeds that. People get beer muscles on the dance floor when certain songs come on. Right?
Mm.
And it's not a new phenomenon, because we had Onyx, Throw Your Guns in the Air. It's not a new phenomenon.
Thank you for lifting that up. Yes.
Right? But the difference is there was a balance. So we had Throw Your Guns in the Air, but we had A Tribe Called Quest
Yeah.
at the same time. And we had PE Fight the Power.
Yeah.
We had X-Clan, right? We
Yeah.
had Nas, right? We had a balance. Now, if you go to a so-called hip-hop night, it's really commercial rap night. It's not a hip-hop night. It's a commercial rap night.
I want to ask something a little bit specific. We had a music journalist on earlier in the season, and we had a little bit of a back and forth around this, specifically around drill music and what that may be doing or what it's not doing to the culture. It often reminds me of how some older folks kind of perceive crunk music. I was in my teenage years. In your experience, kind of playing, all kind of musical genres, but specifically right now, I'm thinking about crunk and drill. Do you feel like this makes folks violent?
I mean, I don't even have to give an opinion. We see it.
Yeah,
we see it. When I look at like a lot of the freestyling that goes on in Philly with the street rappers, the battle rappers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a little too heavy on the guns and the drugs and yes,
Yeah.
it does. Crunk, that's cultural. That's it's cultural. That's a certain area,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's what y'all do.
Yeah.
Drill, same thing. We never had this many rappers and they're not even rappers. They're street people wanting to be rappers, but we've never had this many rappers getting shot and robbed ever. It's because it became a street thing. Street people wanted to become rappers because it was cool and easy to do that. And they brought that type of thing, that energy into it. Like street dudes was trying to get out of the street and became rappers. They was trying to leave that alone. They was trying to become rappers because that was the safer, let me get girls alternative than being in the street. Nobody wants to be the positive dude anymore. Like people want to be the drill dude. They want to do, people want to do that. And I'm just like, man, y'all missing the whole point. But I can't knock that because that's their era. That's what they do. That's y'all. That's like my parents being like, oh, that hip hop stuff, that's your music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So as adults, we can't knock it, but you also can't ignore what is breeding and what is bringing to the table and the energy that it brings.
Copy
You
that.
can't. And I think that's where we get lost and like the debates happen where we knock something so hard just because we don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't have to like it, but I can be objective and be like, okay, I see you've got talent, but here's the negativity that it's bringing to the culture.
Yes, indeed.
And I don't knock anybody else's music. It's like, okay, cool. That's what you do. But when you see an uptick in violence, especially on Instagram, and you see it on YouTube, That right there, see, that is what I don't like.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, there's a whole economic infrastructure that seems like it incentivizes like
It's thriving on that.
yeah.
So I don't like that aspect, and we're now so prone to putting everything on social media.
Yeah.
And that's what the ignorance is doing. It's like putting everything that you do on social media. Nothing's hidden anymore.
Yeah. Well, that actually leads me right to my next question about, things not being hidden anymore. There's often, I often hear claims about our music being more explicit, much more sexual these days. I am curious, Skeme, do you feel like our music has become more, lack of a better word, primal, more explicit? Is that a thing?
Yes, but here's why. You don't have to use your imagination now. Before, when a singer said something, he wasn't just coming out, or she wasn't just coming out and saying, "I'm trying to fuck you."
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
You was at least getting taken to dinner first,
Yeah.
right?
Romance. There's like something.
It was romance. We were driving around in the car and it was raining and it set the tone and it set the mood. And then by the time 3 minutes and 30 seconds and the song ends, we already at the hotel.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, it's so blatant and it's like, it's vulgar to the point where I'm telling you every sexual act that I'm doing for the sake of telling you there's no like, there's no artistry about it no more. There's no like, let me think, oh, what did she say? What did he say? Whoa. Oh, I got it now. He said this because he was swervy with his lyrics.
Yeah.
Now it's just basically, I'm gonna bang your brains out tonight and so and so. And it's not talented about it. You're not like,
Yeah, it's not wordplay. It's not.
the wordplay. And it's because everything's dumbed down. And I know everybody's like, well, Little Kim. Yes, but Little Kim wasn't as vulgar as that. Right.
Good.
And I know people will say, who else? People will say, what other singers? Like 60, 70 singers. Like there was
oh my God. Who's the raunchy singer coming out?
What's her face?
Millie Jackson.
Millie Jackson.
Yeah.
Yes. And Millie Jackson was one, and she stood out on her own as the one. Now we got 50 of you.
Yeah. Got a quick counterpoint though, Skeme. Yeah. So this comes from a genre I don't even naturally gravitate towards, which is crazy. People see me and they automatically assume this is on my playlist. But I'm thinking about dance hall. And I'm thinking about how explicit dance hall is, not even just in the lyrics, but on the dance floor. It's like acrobatic, gymnastics. And I often seen, or at least recently over the past couple of years, I've seen in like Black Twitter and social media spaces, like a bit of a debate between like Black Americans and Caribbean folks around the explicitness of the dancing in the dance hall context. What do you say to folks who say like, oh, okay, yeah, music is explicit, but look at dance hall. You can go and flip over somebody, flip a table over, whatever, and people go their ways at the end of the night.
That's their culture. That's not American culture. That's their culture. And it wasn't that dramatic back then.
Yeah.
It's over the top now. It's over the top theatrics, just like everything is over the top theatrics.
Yeah, it seems like things are changing. This actually reminds me of what you mentioned around slow drag. Want to ask, like, do you feel like we've lost slow jams? Like, do you feel like we've foregrounded sexuality over intimacy?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Everything is normalized now. Like, porn was taboo. The porn theaters was taboo. Like, that was taboo. Porn is all on Instagram right now.
Yeah.
And we not even batting an eye at it. It's just like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Here's this half naked, scantily clad girl on my feed. And it's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right? Movies like Porky's and Revenge of the Nerds
can't be made today.
Can't be made today. We can't even make, what is it? Was it American Pie? We can't even make that now.
Yeah.
Yet, we're so much more sexual and vulgar with this sexuality that we can't make a movie like that, which is tame, right? Because it's how it's presented. You can't tap dance around it, but you can just throw it all out there.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first, like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Gift the remarkable with Marc Jacobs fragrances this holiday season. From the iconic Daisy and Perfect to the all-new Daisy Wild, Marc Jacobs perfume gift sets include everything she needs to feel special. From her favorite fragrance, plus the matching travel spray, holiday gifts don't get much more perfect than this. So if you're looking for a gift inspiration these holidays, gift the remarkable with Marc Jacobs.
Okay, I want to talk about the future now. We'll start thinking about the evolution of the DJ. I want to think about that gift and the curse that you mentioned earlier as well. But this is, now this question's kind of hitting me a little hard right now, but Skeme, how does the lack of physical media, like the loss of the tactileness of wax, how do you think the loss of physical media really impacts today's DJ? Are they really DJs or are they just engineering?
The engineering, there's no connection. There's usually very little connection to the dance floor and the DJ when you're DJing digitally, because you're not looking at the dance floor. And it also made it so the new trend where you could pull up the song in 30 seconds, your next song. So that gives you 3 minutes of downtime. So now DJs are just dancing and twirling and twiddling and dancing and this and that. And it's like, so we made it easier to pull up a song in 10 seconds or less, which means we got 3 minutes now of downtime. And instead of looking at the dance floor and feeling and being like, oh, okay, I know where they're ready to go now, DJs are just like, I'm just going to dance and I'm just going to twirl and I'm just going to. But when you're pulling records, I got 3 minutes to pull the records. And when I pull records, I'm like, okay, I need to be 2 or 3 records ahead just in case I can't find a record.
Wow.
I need to know my next 2 or 3 records that I'm going to play. So I don't have time to be dancing and twirling.
Yeah.
I need to look at the dance floor and make sure they working. And plus, hard drives crash, computers crash.
Yeah.
I've never had my computer crash, knock on wood. It's been reliable. Serato's been reliable to me. It's never crashed since 2006.
Wow.
Right? But even then, if I do use Serato, I have a bag of 50 records just in case. I've seen so many DJs where their hard drive crashed or their computer crashed, and they're done for the night. Me, I never want to be the ruiner of the party. So I'm gonna pull out a record out the bag, drop the needle on, and we rocking. I got another hour's worth of records here to rock this party.
I just want to lift up one thing that I feel like you've hinted at this earlier in our conversation, but I feel like one thing that may really be lost in this transition from analog to digital. Correct me if I'm wrong, man, but I really do feel like it may lead to a loss of cultural memory. Just speaking for myself, just as a listener, I used to love picking up a CD and flipping through the actual booklet, the liner notes, just staring at the fucking cover art, does something to the experience of that music. And I really feel like something memory-wise is being lost. Do you feel like that's fair to say?
Music sounds better when it has a picture to it.
Ooh.
It sounds better when there's liner notes, because now I can understand. Right? And then there's a longer appreciation for it because I had to spend my $20 to buy this record. Digital music, you get over it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like you get a song today or an album today, there's no liner notes, there's no picture, there's no cover. When you download that next song, you slowly forget about that other one. It's the same thing with magazines, right? If you see something on a blog or something, by the time the page turns on that blog, it's gone.
Yeah.
Unless you bookmark that particular page.
Just out in the ethers, man. Yeah.
Right. Magazine, I'm like, I can always go back and read that interview. Right. But one thing I'm noticing now, the internet is deleting itself.
Ooh, oof.
So there's things that I have bookmarked from 20 years ago that's no longer there because the website is now down, or they didn't pay the domain name, or they just deleted it because they needed space. So the information that I once could read and be like, okay, I can reference that, I can no longer reference because that website is no longer there. So the internet is now deleting itself. So the internet is not a archive, like a proven archive. A proven archive is physical media, whether it's art. Like, I don't want an NFT. I want a piece of art hanging on my wall.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So magazines, records, artwork, those have to be physical. They will be physical forever. There will never be a time that we don't have physical media. Even during the low part of where people's like, oh, vinyl's dead, we still had physical media. We still had records. There was independent labels still doing records.
And it's coming back.
And it's coming back.
Copy that. Got a bit of a stickler question for you, though, Skeme.
Mm-hmm.
Something that worries me. Do you feel like the DJ could ever become obsolete in an age of AI DJs or these like Spotify playlists? Yeah. Is
No.
that fear?
No, because people are always going to want to see a DJ. A venue might not want to pay a DJ, but the real venues know, like, okay, we need a physical person in here. If we want to rock a party, and especially if the DJ can get on the mic and host too, you can't get that from AI. You can't get that interaction because the AI is not going to be like, hey, shorty in a green dress.
Yeah.
The AI doesn't know the temperature of the room. So, yeah, we're always going to. Now, will a corporate party get an AI DJ? Maybe.
Yeah. Just pull up a little playlist. And you know what? Thinking about this evolution of the DJ, and in that intimacy when you all are actually in the same space, thinking about something that kind of popped off during COVID, like these virtual DJing sessions, these virtual dance parties. And now I'm even seeing these venues like the Boiler Room, these DJs will have a set to be recorded and uploaded to YouTube. Curious, Skeme, what do you think is like being lost or gained when the DJ is kind of converted into a digital space? So like these virtual parties and whatnot.
So for me, that was a like, oh, that's cool. That's not for me. So when COVID happened and everybody went on Twitch and they went online, I was like, I'm not doing that. I might make a guest appearance at the homies setup, but I'm not doing that. And here's why. I'm not giving you free what I was just charging you $20 for at the club.
Word.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not giving you free every week, 2-3 times a week.
That's labor.
I'm not doing that. So while a lot of my peers with that route, you know what I did? I did what I couldn't do because I was traveling so much. I made cassette mixtapes and sold them.
Cassettes?
I still make cassette mixtapes. I still do mixtapes. I probably do 10 a year.
Wow.
So when everybody was doing that, I'm making a monthly cassette tape series and selling 50 of them at $25, $30 a pop and selling you physical product.
Yes.
No one remembers that stream. No one remembers January 5th, 2021, you online.
Yeah.
But they got my tape that I stamped each one and wrote the date down. They got that and they still listen to that.
Yes, indeed.
So I would not have been able to do that because I was traveling all the time. But now we locked down for 2 years. I'm in the lab and I'm like, oh, I'm about to get busy. I'm about to do all these projects that I couldn't do while I was traveling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once again, physical product because I'm the nostalgia king. I need physical.
Absolutely.
And I'm still making those tapes. So I mean, and some of my favorite DJs be online. I'm like, yo, I will listen to you. But it wasn't for me. Right. And it kind of got weird for me in a sense because DJs went from not wanting to be talked to, don't bother me while I'm DJing, no requests.
Wow.
To now being on Twitch talking to the audience, doing like, yo, what y'all want to hear? Wait a minute, did we not? We didn't want requests. And now we trying to keep people in the chat room, right? We try to keep people in the chat room. I'd rather just hear you do a mix or hear you on the radio. I don't need to watch you. Now, there were a couple people that did amazing mixes, like Cut Chemist used to do a mix where it was he would do a Sunday night. It was like a candlelight mix, and all you would see was the candle, and it would be a turntable, and you would just see his hand, and he would just drop the needle down, and that's all. He didn't need to be in the video. He didn't need to be in the stream. You heard the music. And it was all like soul, sweet soul, 60s, 70s sweet soul music, and it's just candlelight, right? That's cool. You have people like Mayor Hawthorne, and Mayor Hawthorne would do his Vinyl and Wine Hour, and basically he would just be telling you about these different bottles of wines and pairing the wines with the selection he was playing.
Wow.
And it was more entertaining than just me watching you DJ and talk to he would be up there and explaining like, yo, this record came from Detroit. This is like soul singer so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. And she had this, and this is a rare record. And by the way, this red wine right here is so-and-so, and it goes good with this. And it was more entertaining than just watching you DJ.
Yeah.
Come up with the theme.
Yeah. That reminds me of the Versus series that really kind of popped off. And one thing I really appreciated about it was there was more of a sense of intimacy or familiarity with, like, I'm thinking about DJ Premier versus RZA, we're seeing them in their private spaces,
Yes.
I do feel like there was something to that you couldn't potentially access at a normal night at a club,
Exactly.
But I'm also still thinking about this evolution of the DJ. I got one last question on this topic, and then we're going to close out now thinking about the relationship between politics and DJing. But thinking about the evolution of the DJ, something that you mentioned earlier really, really resonated with me, Skeme. You mentioned that often, the addition of an image can enhance our experience of the music, and I'm really thinking about, I don't know if it's fair to call this shit DJing or VJing, like video jockey. I know MTV came up with that funky ass name. They was really just choosing the most popular videos, but I'm sure you've seen this on social media. Cats who are remixing videos and pairing it with music that totally reframes how you experience that image, whether it's like anime or, let's say if I cut together a scene from Godzilla and I mash it up with like MOP Annie Up or something like that. Do you feel like that is somehow connected to the lineage of DJing?
All right, let me take it back for a second. So 2006, 2007, I was doing an all funk 45, soul 45 party called Hot Peas and Butter.
Ooh.
Right? And Hot Peas and Butter was basically a feel-good party that took you back to the days of Soul Train, house parties, stuff like that. Because the music I was playing was funk, soul, jazz, rare groove. It was that music.
Mm-hmm.
I used to show footage at the parties, right? It wasn't connected. It wasn't VJing. It was footage.
Yeah.
Because my VHS archives is ridiculous. Like, I've had a VCR since 83. So I was recording everything. So any given night, you would see blaxploitation movie trailers.
Yeah.
You would see kung fu trailers. You would see cartoons. You would see certain TV show clips.
Yeah.
Commercials. But it was all set in that 70s, 80s time because that's the music. And I'm connecting the dots of like, this is the music. Oh, look at that. Like, right? So I'm chopping all this up on my VHS tapes. So I'm making a master reel of a 2-hour VHS tape, carrying the VCR to the club with the projector to screen the projections while the music connected the dots to the music.
So what do we name that, Skeme? What do we call that process?
That was just being me. That was just being me. There was a few people doing, like DJ Cash Money was doing it. There was a couple DJs in Japan that was doing it. That's what we were doing. That's what it was, right? But that takes time. That takes me going through hours of VHS tapes, finding a 15-second clip that I want to use, dub it, and then do the same process till I get a 2-hour VHS tape that I'm carrying the VHS around the world to play at these venues.
Yeah.
While the music is playing, right?
Yeah.
So for my and the concepts. So for the 3-year anniversary of the party, all of the footage we showed was in 3D. So we was showing Jaws 3D trailer, Halloween 3 3D trailer. I did a party, New York. This was 2000, I want to say 2010, 2011, called Bullies and Brothels.
Okay.
And it was a tribute to 42nd Street, a tribute to old 42nd Street. And if you know 42nd Street, it was kung fu movies, it was porn movies, it was blaxploitation. So I did a party called Bullies and Brothels with my man, Elroy Jenkins. And all of the trailers was kung fu trailers, porn trailers, and blaxploitation trailers. Because I could do that in New York. Because New Yorkers remember when, 42nd Street was grimy. They remember it was full of porn and kung fu, right? I couldn't do that anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
Right? But I connected the dots to the music and the culture in New York City.
Man.
So it's not VJing, but it's the visuals to the music connecting the time period. Now, the VJing you're talking about is like, oh, I'm playing the song and the visuals is, if I'm scratching, the visuals is going like this because I'm scratching. That's cool. For me, I like the hard route. I like to go to them VHS tapes and I need to go pull stuff that you ain't seen in 40 years and be like, I remember that McDonald's commercial where the dude was rapping. Like,
oh man. No, thank you for laying that out for us, man. Want to end on talking about activism and DJing, politics and DJing. We've been talking about how space is created through sound, how we're able to transform space through sound. And, something came up talking with our wonderful producers. We got to thinking about, noise pollution and how often that affects Black folks when we think about just our acoustic ecologies, got to thinking about like, damn, is the government almost like a DJ and how they're able to rearrange space and change how we have to move and throughout a space. With that said, I want to ask, how might DJing help us reclaim our sonic architecture? Relatedly, Skeme, what advice would you give to aspiring DJs looking to connect music with activism?
Well, first of all, your music has to be uplifting. That's first and foremost. The music's got to be uplifting. The music has to speak to the people. It has to be, the DJ always brings the people together. That's the first thing. The 3 greatest things to connect people is music, food, and drink.
Yes.
Right? And if you're the DJ, you are the food and the drink of the people.
Ooh.
Right? So you inviting these Black people, these people of color to this space and saying, we need to build. That's what disco was. That's what house was. Like that's, and not the commercial disco. I'm talking about the ghetto disco. I'm talking like, that's what it was. That's what let's bring our people together. Yeah, you guys are invited, but you're in our space. So you got to understand this space and respect this space. And it's funny because Rich Medina said something on an interview he did recently about his night at APT right after 9/11, and nothing wasn't going on in New York. And then they started doing the parties at APT, and it was a way for Black people to get back together again in the dance community, to get back together again. And the outsiders that were coming in, you kind of had to get the like, I'm with so-and-so.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's doable. But the problem is there's too much segregation on what you like and what you like and what you like. There's too many options. There's too many options. right? I'm playing black music. It sucks that for me to play black music, meaning funk, soul, jazz, rare groove, disco, that I got to go to Europe or I got to go to Japan or Korea and China to play black music, because it's hard for me to do that here because the generation who would love that music, they aren't going out anymore. The younger generation don't want to hear that because they're segregated in hip hop, commercial, drill, like, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
House is really the one that's still left that brings the people together. You know, so it's doable. It's possible in a space, but we also have to put our best foot forward with doing it. Right? It was easier in the 70s and the 80s. It was because we could go rent out the hall. We could go set up like some of the greatest punk clubs in San Fran were in a Chinese restaurant that closed after hours, and they just let them set up a showcase in the Chinese restaurant.
Wow.
Like that time, venues would do that. It would just be like, okay, these kids want to rent out the space after the restaurant closed. And it became, I think it's a spot called Madame Wong's. And she was known in San Fran, she was known as one of the venues, which was a Chinese restaurant. She was known as one of the venues that made punk because they performed there.
Wow.
And that was the place that punk artists performed, was at her restaurant that became the venue after hours. But there was so many of that because early 90s in Philly, we were doing this party called Club Hardcore, and it was myself, my OG DJ Groove, Gary, Big Bob from WPRB Radio, and Gary was like, yo, I want to throw a night. I want to throw a hip-hop night. And he was like, I got a venue. Y'all want to DJ? This venue was a Chinese restaurant, daytime, and at the 9 o'clock, they cleared the tables out, and Gary just rented the spot out.
Man,
that's a rarity. 90s, that was a rarity in the 90s, but Gary had the know-how of finding these people and finding these spots. He was the man for that.
Thank you so much for this rich history, Skeme. Man, we could rap with you all day. We gotta have you back on. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise, your knowledge base with us, man.
Yo, no doubt.
Just got one last question for you, then we're gonna get on out of here.
Yeah.
So this season, we're asking all of our guests to lift up just one song to add to our playlist for Black liberation. With that said, Skeme, what's one song that has to be on your soundtrack for the revolution?
And you know what? This one might even be cliche. It might even be on your playlist, but it's the definitive song of a generation. PE Fight the Power. PE Fight the Power is a definitive song of an entire generation that was fighting against something. You had the video, Spike Lee, you like them marching down in Brooklyn. Like, we don't get that anymore to that level. So that right there, that spoke to a whole generation and still is a relevant song now.
Evergreen. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Skeme. Gotta have you back on, fam. No doubt. That was DJ Skeme Richards, the Nostalgia King. You can learn more about his work and listen to him curate the culture. Available at nostalgiaking.com. And remember, anytime the DJ spins a record, it's the sound of liberation. So what will it take to make your body move? Let us know in the comments of Push Black's Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube pages. You can also find us and tag us at We Are Push Black. And if you found this conversation valuable, don't forget to share this episode on your social media as well. Until next week, be free. You're living in history.
At Push Black, we agree with Marcus Garvey when he said, a people without knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. We believe telling empowering stories on Black life and history can build a more liberated Black future. Being here with us lets us know you probably feel that's important too. You matter. Your choice to be here matters. It lets us know that you value this work. And you make Push Black happen with your contributions at blackhistoryyear.com. Most people do $5 or $10 a month, but everything makes a difference. Thank you for supporting the work. Black History Year is a production of Push Black, the nation's largest nonprofit Black media company. Our team includes Brooke Brown, Amber Davis, Nina Davis, Kevin McFall, Gabby Roberts, and Leslie Taylor Grover. Producing the show, we have Sydney Smith and Lynn Webb, who also edits the show. Black History Year's executive producers are Lily Workna and Julian Walker. And I'm your host, Darren Wallace.